How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a new series, RimWorld. You guys haven't heard of this game? It is a story survival kind of colony builder simulator, if you will. And yeah, so we are doing a vanilla, non-modded, all DLC series. At the time of recording, version 1.4.3537. So welcome in, everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm probably gonna make this episode 0. The reason being is probably most of this episode is gonna be based around just kind of explaining the creation of a colony, the going about planning an early colony and stuff like that. So if you guys want to go ahead and get to like true gameplay, as I'll call it, you probably want to go ahead and skip over to episode 1, which will be in the playlist linked down below eventually. Well, when this first comes out, episode 1 will not be out. However, if you're watching this after the fact, it should all be out. So yeah. Anyway, so when you're starting RimWorld, go ahead and click New Colony. So there's a few different scenarios you can go ahead and select from. There's Crash Landed. Basically, you get 3 people, some stuff. Lost Tribe. You basically start with 5 people, but you start out as a tribal group of people. So you're a little bit more primitive here. Your technology is more primitive, so it does make the start a little bit more difficult. And you start out with a few different items. They have Rich Explorer, which is just a single person, right? So you effectively were the lone survivor, effectively, of a like a merchant ship, if you will. Well, in here it's, crash ship. You're kind of rich, right? You have a lot of silver, some gold, some survival meals. Sorry about my water bottle that decided to pop. Some other things. We have Naked Brutality, for those of you who have watched Naked and Afraid. It is definitely a difficult one. You are alone, and you have nothing. This is definitely a very difficult one. And then, due to the new DLC that they've added, the biotech DLC, you now have a mechanoid start. Now, it's not quite like true mechanoid, like you're not playing as one. You still have pips, or people. However, you get to start out with a few of them who work for you, and you actually start out with the research to make more of them. It's a really interesting start. For the purpose of this series, we're going to do just a generic Crash Landed start and things, kind of middle of the road settings, just to kind of show off the game, really. Because I feel like there's a pretty heavy saturation of the modded content out there. And if you guys want to see me do a modded playthrough of RimWorld, definitely let me know down below in the comments, along with what mods you would like me to play. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe on this video. All those fun things. And turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Anyway, so the start with things. So you start with a constructor. You start with a lifter, some silver, some meals, some medicine, just kind of your generic stuff, a few more things. And then, what I think is really interesting, this I think would be an interesting start, is you basically start out as Dracula. Not quite Dracula, but Dracula. So you start with quite a lot of silver, meals. You start with which is basically hemoglobin, or blood. Medicine, components, wood, steel, all those fun things, and a longsword. Basically, you start with one adult or child vampire, effectively, sanguiphage, I believe, and then another colonist, which basically turns into your blood bag, or somebody you drain for blood. But like I said, we're gonna go ahead and just do the standard Crash Landed with 3 people. This I feel like is your run-of-the-mill, pretty standard for most players. Of course, you have a scenario editor, and you can also go to the Steam Workshop. So, now for the difficulty of our campaign. So there's 3 different AI storytellers, and so because this is a quasi-story-based, mission-based game, you get to decide who tells your story, right? So, Cassandra Classic, as her name implies, is pretty classic, right? Take note, though, real fast, that these right here are separate. So these are the difficulty modifier. So you can play Cassandra Classic, but be very difficult. Then you have Phoebe Chillax. don't let her name seem like, oh, well, it's going to be easier than Cassandra Classic, because she is not. Because all she does is so Phoebe chillax compared to Cassandra Classic. Phoebe will give you extra time between events or missions, which could be good if you find yourself struggling to get everything done before an event happens. However, take note, if you squander that extra time, you could end up actually putting yourself further behind, and it could end up being harder than if you were to just do Cassandra Classic. Now, you also need to take note that if you enjoy difficulty, if you strive for it, Randy Random is your guy. As his name implies, he is random. You will get endgame events. So with Cassandra Classic and Phoebe Chillax, you have a ramping up of events, right? So they start out really easy, pretty predictable. Usually a new player should be able to handle them pretty standard. And then, you know, as time goes on, as your colony gets established, they become harder, more difficult. Randy Random pretty much doesn't do that at all. He could give you easy event after easy event after easy event, or he could just be cruel, which often he is, and give you insane events that you probably won't be able to handle unless you are a very experienced player. Now, we're going to play on Cassandra Classic. As for the difficulty, we could of course select custom, so if you want to make a custom modifier, for instance, you want to do mood settings, or if you want to have a special scenario you want to try out, definitely use your setting. You can also go ahead, hit set to standard playstyle. So right here, there's a few different ones. So there's some already made in here, but notice they're basically just these. So for instance, you can click peaceful and see what the settings actually do. So I will say this is nice to see if you are wondering what the difference between these settings are. All right, so you just click the custom playlist settings, and then you can actually hit set to standard playstyle, and it will just set to these. So for instance, if I click this peaceful, it kind of tells you what it's about, right? So it says, you know, players who want to learn the game, players who just want to build, relax, have fun, right? And, you know, just major direct events are disabled, challenges like disease, mental breaks, and other things can still occur. Then, you know, you can ramp it up a little bit. And adventure story. I'm going to go ahead and do strive to survive. Okay, so I would say that's about the middle of the road. There are 6 options, not including custom. But I'm going to go ahead and click custom just so we can go ahead and see what each of them do. So for instance, peaceful mode, threat scale is all the way down here. Things are, as you can see, if you want to just take a second to look through all of them, I'll scroll through. Of course, by all means, if you guys already have RimWorld and are playing it, you can go ahead and do this yourself. But if you are just following along and watching for the first time and you've not played RimWorld, then you can kind of go through and click there. For Community Builder, a few more things are turned on. Threat scale is turned up a little bit more. You have a few more tweaks. We were playing on Strive to Survive, so I'll go ahead and show you what that one looks like. Also take note, so let's see, Community Builder. The harvest rates in some of these other ones are turned up, but so if we play on Strive to Survive, notice pretty much everything's standard. There's not really anything, so you do have classic mortars, some other stuff. As you can see, there's biotech, so the DLC specifically. There's also ideology, and then there's adaptation. So you can more or less set a very interesting scenario. So Strive to Survive is pretty much the average. As you can see, when you put Adventure Story, threat scale is only 60%, versus Strive to Survive, which is 100%, which is really the middle of the road. As you can see, losing is fun, turns things up, turns a lot of things down, makes it definitely much more difficult. And of course, a lot of people, if you really want to play difficult, will turn it all the way up to 500. But of course, we're just going to go ahead. We're just going to play on Strive to Survive. If we played on Adventure Story, you know what? Let's play on Adventure Story just for the sake of the series. If I was playing personally, I would play Strive to Survive or even Blood and Dust. I just really, want to kind of take the middle ground, or at least the most middle ground I can, and play a series that kind of helps walk everybody through. Now, yeah, we could play Phoebe Chillax and really take our time with it, but I do want some interesting things to occur. You know, I don't know. We'll do Strive to Survive. We'll make it a little bit interesting. Oh, I forgot. Good thing it yells at you. Reload, anytime, or commitment. For those of you who've played Paradox games, so Hearts of Iron, Stellaris, EU4, CK3, or Vicky 3 now, there's what is known as an Iron Man mode. So same thing applies here with commitment mode. You get one save, so when you quit, that's when the game saves. Is when you quit. There are auto saves, but you can't reload a save. So if something terrible happens, right, a meteor strikes and annihilates your entire group of people, you can't just reload. You're done, right? Think of it like hardcore Minecraft, right? You die, the world's over. It's kind of like that. Reload anytime is your standard saving and loading. Again, if you want extra challenge, Randy Random, commitment mode, turn that difficulty slider all the way up. If you really want a difficult time, if you want a really easy time, Cassandra Classic, go peaceful, or even community builder, reload anytime. So with that, let's go ahead and create our world. Now, you don't need, first thing, seed, just like in Minecraft. Most people have played Minecraft, or at least a game that has had a random seed. I'm gonna go ahead and do not that one. Sure. As for global coverage just determines how much of the planet the game generates. Now, 30% is plenty. You will have plenty of options, plenty of exploration. From my experience playing, I've never been like, oh man, I wish I had more land to, you know, go through, but 30% is definitely enough. If you really want to turn it up, go ahead and turn it up to 50%. I'm going to turn it up to 50% here, just so that I have a few more options to pick from for where you're starting. Of course, you can change overall rainfall, temperature, population, things like that, and this is going to determine what type of biomes and stuff spawn. You can also look at what factions are going to spawn, and those will play a part in the next portion. So, of course, if you want to follow along and play on the exact same settings as us, there's our seed, there's our map coverage, and there's the rest of it. You can, of course, reset here. You can add other factions as well. But again, we're going to play kind of middle of the road. So that generates, to also take in mind, if you do turn it up to 50 or even 100%, it does take longer to generate the world. So if you do have a slower computer or don't really want to wait around for the generation, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. So as you can see, we generated 50% of the world. It didn't take that long. So here is our world. So as you can see, 50% of it has been generated. And we can see all the different markings are all the different factions. So if you want, you can see, so you can click the factions button, see who is hostile with who is neutral towards you. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of people who are hostile towards us. So we don't want to build by anybody who's hostile, because it could potentially mean more, not necessarily more raids, but it could potentially mean not as fun time. However, if you want to do like raiding them, it could make sense for you to be near them. So it just depends on how you want to play. I will probably mainly pick based off where I want to go. So as you can see, there's a ton of different topography here. So you have kind of a darker green, you have desert, all the way up here you have Arctic if you really want to build up here in the Arctic region. So you have ice sheets, you have sea ice, definitely very difficult to of course play in. There's also desert, so there's the opposite extreme. So here you have desert, you have extreme desert, so it's even worse. Let's see what else. You have temperate forest. We're going to play either temperate forest or tropical rainforest. They're both, I think, good to play in. There's also swamp, which is definitely interesting to play in. And then let's see what else. There's tundra. There's boreal forest. And then, of course, there's mountains and stuff. I'm going to play mountain. I think they're fun. They are a little bit more difficult because you have to do a lot of mining to get the base going, but I think that's fine. Let's go ahead and kind of pick... Oh, also, one of the new things they've added in the recent DLC is radiation. And so you can kind of see that here on the map, so that kind of like splintery thing. You can also go ahead, when you click a tile, any tile, I won't click one of the radiation ones, you can go ahead and click planet, and we can see, we can see what the seed is. We can also see what the coverage is that we generated. But if you click the terrain button, you can see a lot more information about the tile. I recommend before picking a tile, especially for your first time, click the terrain button just so you can go ahead and see what is in the tile. So you can see it's flat, you can see its movement difficulty, which determines how fast pips move through it, or your people. Also tells you what type of stone are there, so if you're looking for a particular stone, whether aesthetically pleasing or what have you, that's one thing you can take a look out for. Also, we can see what the average temperature is. We can also see what the growing period is. So there's year-round growing here, which is good. There's berries. We also see that, animals can live here, and we can see the pollution. So pollution, radiation, it to me seems more like radiation, but the game calls it pollution. And of course we can see what the disease frequency is per year. So if you have people who are more adept to diseases, that's good, or more prone to it, that might not be the best pick for you. And you can also see the time zone, which kind of helps with traveling. Also take note that we are near a road. So roads are either these dirt roads, these ancient asphalt roads, or these stone roads. They all provide the same movement difficulty of 0.5. Well, not quite actually. So, actually, do they? Am I crazy? 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, yeah. Okay, they all do. I was like, I clicked one over here that was, yeah, over on the river, and so I'm like, oh no. Well, actually, I guess it depends on the, the terrain. So tropical rainforest is +2. But as you can see, it's 50% reduction with the road. So here, the shrubland is only 1, so it reduces by 50% to 0.5. So being in or near a road, rather, because you can build on top, same with the water, is being near a road just speeds up travel time between areas. So if, for instance, you lived, way out in off on some peninsula, like over here, well, you guys gotta walk through a mountain range, they gotta walk all the way over here. But now if you live right next to a road, they travel faster. So it does make traveling to different people much faster for trading and other events. Let's see. There's a temperate rainforest here we could live in. Is there any good mountainy ranges? There's an Imperium there, which I'm okay with, because I'm gonna probably ally with them. What are we? Temperate rainforest? Or just temperate forest? There's definitely a lot of different picks you can go for. It doesn't really matter too much. I'm okay with that. We're near a couple people. Caves around, sandstone, limestone. Okay, maybe we're not going to do rainforest because I don't see a good one. We don't want to build near barns. Barns are bad. Okay, but there's a lot of barns. Barns I think we're going to not be able to avoid. Okay. Fine, then I guess we're not building in the rainforest. I lied. We're building in a mountain system, just not there. Slate and sandstone, sandstone and slate, sandstone and marble. I really like marble and granite, but however, those are usually not what I find together. Granite and limestone. But as you can see, you can cycle through many, many tiles. So marble and slate is just fine. Caves, year-round growing, that looks fine. Temperate forest, we'll just build here. We're kind of near roads. Now, we are playing with DLCs, so I am going to just do classic. I'm not going to worry about any sort of super in-depth thing. And this part right here doesn't really do a whole lot in terms of... This is just their clothing, so you can do ideological, any sort of religion, like origin. It just helps with structure, like so technist. So like for instance, if we did Christianity, they have like a cardinal and a bishop, stuff like that. And then for the ideology, again, we're just going to do the classic, like the very simple. It will have the aspect of the ideologies in the game, but we're not going to have any super crazy ones. And obviously, if you want to make a custom one, you can. And if you just want the ideology system inactive, you can, of course, turn it off, even if you have it. So if you don't like playing with it, you can just turn it off. Or if you don't have it, then you won't even see the screen. But as for those of you who do have it, or are interested, so you have the mild, kind of your run-of-the-mill, very generic, very light modification. You have your strong, so these are going to be a little bit more prone, right? You're going to see them a little bit more, you're going to feel them a little bit more. Then you have your intense. These are going to very much dictate and change how you play. And of course, you can make a custom one to bend to how you want. Let's go ahead and hit next. And now for, in my opinion, the most important part, right? More important than picking where you're going to go is who is going to go there. So you have what are known as pips or pops, however you want to look at them, population or pips. So you start out with a total of 8 that you get to pick from, but you only get to bring 3 with you. Now take note, there are special relationships between them. For instance, here, there's a relationship of a son and then daughter, and it tells you who they are. So Veli is here. So Veli's coming with. Christian Morris is this one? Yes. And then there's also daughter, Philly, which is right here. So you might be inclined to take the relationships as it does help with their mood. However, if you don't take them, right? So for instance, say we took these 3, probably not, because I'm going to take a look at all their stats and stuff. But say you did. It doesn't mean you're not going to see them again. They could very well show up later in the game. They could show up as a raiding party. They could show up as part of a trading group. They could show up just as a random wanderer. So even though they aren't going to be with us, they could show up later in the game. So definitely don't feel as though, oh no, you're splitting up a family or something, unless of course you want to roleplay with that, then by all means. So let's see. So when we're looking at the stats, there's all these different abilities that they can do. They have these little flames next to them. These flames indicate their XP gain. So one little flame gives us normal base value XP gain of 100%. So they're going to gain XP for construction as they do it at the normal rate of 100%. Now, with no passion, 0 passion, they only learn at 35%. So if they have a low skill, for instance, shooting and melee here, they're going to take a long time, a lot longer to level up than if this guy were to have a passion for it. Now, if they have a burning passion, which is indicated with 2 flames, they're going to learn at 150% speed. So they're really going to pick it up. So it does help that the stat is already high, because we're going to have them do that. But it might be worth it to find somebody who perhaps has a lower stat and has 2 flames, because they'll level up much quicker, especially if they have other stats that are high. Another thing to take note is any health issues they have. For instance, there's a gunshot wound. Now, it's aching, which isn't good, because it could mean that it could eventually become a problem, that we might have to amputate the leg, which is fine once we have the systems in place, but starting out, this could be very much problematic for us. We could also go ahead and take a look at what they have here for their traits. So this person is a psychopath, which tells us that they're going to be a little bit more problematic in terms of our society. So they're going to have certain things that we can't have them do, and then there's going to be other things that we can't stop them from doing. Now they're also going to have some other traits. For instance, this person is staggeringly ugly, which makes the beauty of them go down, which people do prefer to look at nice looking things. Now they are incapable of nothing, which is good. And then if we look here at what is team skills, it shows us what the highest stat is of the 3 people we currently have selected that we're going to take with us. So we can see that we have a pretty good shooting skill. Somebody has a pretty good melee. We have a decent mining. It has a passion. We have an okay construction, no passion for it. We have okay plant, again, no passion. Medical's okay. Really, it's pretty good with 7. No, again, no passion. And then we have pretty much a 0. It's a 1, but pretty much a 0 here with the intellectual. Definitely no passion. So we do want to take a look at who else we have. So we have this guy. We also want to take a note of their age. So they have what is known as a chronological age and then a biological age. So the chronological age is their age chronologically. Their biological age is the age that they've actually been alive. So that's a little bit confusing. So to explain it a little bit better, the chronological age is basically how long they've existed since birth. Take note, existed. Not been alive, existed. So they could have been in cryosleep for 30 years. In the case of this individual, right? The chronological age is 50, biological age is 21. So they've only been alive and moving around and outside of any sort of cryosleep for only about 21 years. So they're relatively young. Now, this person right here is 62 biologically. So they're going to be more prone to health issues. But luckily for us, they don't have any right now. However, they are super immune, which is going to be good. They are a recluse, so they're probably not going to be too happy if we grow the faction. They have a few other art. No, art is fine. They are a little bit misogynistic, which could become problematic. They already are a recluse, which isn't great. It's like double negatives. However, they are amazing at shooting in melee, so they might be somebody we want to keep. Also, if you find that you just don't have any good pips, any good pops here, you don't really like any of their traits, you don't like any of their health problems, you can go ahead and hit randomize. So I'm going to go ahead and hit randomize here, and just take note, it is going to affect the relationships, but not by much. So here's a different person. We have Stab Scar, Undergrounder, is good, Careful Shooter. I'm okay with this. Plants is good, the animals is good, the mining's good. I'm going to take this guy. He is there for sure. So I'm going to move him up on my list. We have a blacksmith. So, okay. Minimal. So this guy prefers the simple things, which is good. He's too smart, which means he learns everything much faster than everyone, but can be quite erratic. Right? Think of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. And he is quite pleasant to be around, or at least to look at. He does have a face mask with him, which is understandable, right? He's crafty. Well, crafting. But he's a crafty fellow. He's okay with cooking, but he would like to do more. He's pretty good with mining, and because we're going to have an underground base, that is quite good. Then we have a pretty decent melee, so I'm actually going to move him up. So let's see who else we have. Okay, not bad. So we have an undergrounder, so incapable of being violent. Okay, I'm okay with that. He is a wimp, which is unfortunate. And he's incapable of cooking. Well, he's higher than Theo in my mind. Theo's actually going to go all the way down. Test subject. Interesting. Yeah, test subject's also not up there. Philly the Hunter. Slowpoke. Well, the movement speed's okay. I would prefer to get a doctor. We need a doctor and somebody who's good at construction. Here, okay. The Adventuring Child, Psychopath and Night Owl. Quarry Worker, ooh, is actually quite good. Stab and Bite Scars. Okay, incapable of violent. We have nobody who's good with shooting. And nobody who's super smart. Like, at all. 3 is our highest intellectual, which is going to slow down research a little bit. But I'm almost okay with that. We have no shooting ability at all. Which is funny because this person's a careful shooter, but they don't do shooter. I think it's funny, they're a ranger, but they have 0 in their shooting skill. That seems dumb. Let's see, is there anybody? Yeah, I guess the Adventuring Child. So when you hit randomize, you could get something like this, where you get a whole bunch of smoke leaf dependencies. Here's one where you get an ex-lover. Here's, you know, kind of a decent one. Up here's one where you have a lot of things. So as you can see, you can keep spinning the wheel basically until you get somebody who you just really want, like who just really works for you in the colony. Okay, well, I want you. I don't want the quarry worker. Are you too smart? I don't have anybody who's good with plants though now. I want you, that's for sure. And then, okay, what if I switch? Yeah, we'll do that so that we have a passion and everything. We do have a few issues, but they should be fine. 2 of them are actually incapable of violence though. I'm not going to take 2 of them that are incapable of violence then. So who do we cut? You're good with the lot. You're good with our construction or our mining, unfortunately. You know what? We'll just deal with it. We'll just use traps for a while. That's what we'll do. Alright. So we're gonna go ahead and end the episode here. Well, first I'm gonna hit start And then you guys can get a preview of the map. And then we're going to go ahead and end the episode. And then in the next episode, we'll go ahead and cover the beginnings of our colony. Let's go ahead and land. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure you guys leave a thumbs up on the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. All those fun things down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye-bye.